Hi, my name is Night Owl Carol, and today's video I just wanted to sit down and talk to you guys again. I get asked a lot about how I managed to travel so much as a student. And to be honest with you, if you watched my previous video on my secret to happiness, you know that traveling is my one and only passion. I have committed to it since I realized that it is what I want to do. And traveling is the only thing that makes me truly happy. And I think if you're going to travel, you have to commit to it. If you want to... There's a difference, by the way, I think, between taking holidays and going abroad for, 10 days or something, and taking time off and being away from home, like over a month, really exploring a place, really seeing it. And of course that is depending on how much time people have, holidays from work, etc. So I do get that completely. But in general, I think student-wise, we do have a rather large holiday time in the middle of semesters. So, well, in between one year and the other, about 4 months of holiday here in the UK. So people ask me, how do you travel so much? And how can you afford it and everything else? So honestly, I realized that if I am going to do traveling, if I am going to do this more than others, I have to make certain sacrifices in order to do the thing that I love. Traveling is not cheap. It is pricey any way you look at it, any budget that you can have. If you want to do more things, it is going to cost you more. I'm just gonna go and get my notebook. So traveling will cost you any way that you look at it. It's not cheap at all to do, and I feel like a lot of the time we are bombarded with all of these amazing opportunities to do, and I myself, this is just a magazine I had handy, so I love the Wanderlust magazine, Lonely Planet. I used to get a National Geographic one. So I love these magazines because they give you really, really good ideas of where to go, what to do, what's new out there. They have so much in them. But actually, if you start looking at, how much things cost, it does get a little bit more expensive. So I'm just trying to find an example now. So there's a big hype right now, well, not hype, but people are trying to live more green, which is this issue. It's all that it's about. And I know that a lot of students are trying to make a better impact on the world as well, which I am totally for. But also when you're a student, you want to have so much money. And I am talking like working class to middle class. You're living by yourself, maybe you have kids to support. A student in general is not someone who's known to have a lot of money. And things like this, so we're obviously very eco-conscious, but there's an amazing article right here about all the eco stays that you can go to, and you're like, okay, wow, this is amazing, like I'd love to stay in this hut, like with this forest around me. It all sounds very amazing, but then you look at it and a bungalow is from £670 per night, full board with transfers. Okay, I don't have £675 per night. Okay, I don't have that much. There's another one, cabins from £390 per night per room, and 2 nights are required. So that's already about £600, £800 if you're thinking food and drinks and everything else, rounding it up quite significantly, but you're gonna spend that much money because you gotta do things when you're there. Another place, £815 per night. Don't get me wrong, I love to travel and I would love to do it more eco-friendly, but sometimes it's not possible. So I don't really have tips that are a definite, this will definitely work for you, but I have some things that I've learned along the way that maybe will help. I would never take one person's list and stick exactly to it. I would definitely do your research. My whole passion kind of started when I was on YouTube and I found Sorella Moore. I talk about her all the time. She's an amazing human being. I could only wish to be like half the woman she is one day, but she is honestly amazing in every way, and she completely changes my mindset on things every time she posts a video, which is amazing. That's what you're trying to be when you're, you know, I don't know, I love her. That's all I've got to say. Anyway, apart from that, apart from my love for Sorrel, I learned a couple things along the way. I think she talks about them in her video as well. So what you gotta know is that some people spend their money on clothes because that's what their interest and passion is. So designer clothes or go shopping all the time. Some people like to go out to restaurants all the time. Some people like to go on nights out every single weekend. And you know, that's £50 here and £80 here and £20 here. It adds up a little bit at a time. And you know, some people like jewellery. Name everything that you do, like make a list of things that you spend your money on in the week that maybe you could sacrifice in the long term to go travelling if you need to be saving up. And basically when you're doing your booking, if you're looking at places to go into an incognito browser. So open a tab and make it, you know, clear all your cookies, your history, your everything else, because websites do like to hike the price up because they've seen that you've been looking at this room, and honestly you can find the same room, the same flight for 5 different prices. And some places like to say that there's no more rooms, like, so they hook you in with like a really cheap deal and they're like, oh, no more rooms available at this price. Just after you entered your details. No money comes out, but you're like, oh wow, I really wanted this place. So then they like hike up the price a little bit and a little bit more. So basically you're getting more and more expensive. So do not get attached to one property just because it looks really nice. If it starts going up in price and you can't afford it, set yourself a budget. If you can't afford it, go somewhere else, because your flights and your accommodation, first 2 things you should book, but you should also look at how much you're going to want to do when you're there, what is possible for you to budget when you're there. So start incognito, and then that moves on to the next one is do your research. So go on different websites for hotels. So you've got Trivago, you've got booking.com, you've got Expedia, Airbnb, all sorts of different things. Look at that, like look at every single one and compare the prices on everything. And same with flights, you've got Skyscanner, Kayak. Sometimes it's easier to just go onto the website of the airline that you're looking at. Expedia also does flights. You know, there's so many different things that you could do. So never settle for one website. Always do your research, always try and find different things. And then kind of third of all, lower your expectations. You, as a student, unless, you know, you've done really well of saving or you've got another way of sponsoring your travels, whatever that may be, for family money, anything, you know, and unless you've got that, I don't think you can, you know, be staying in all these fancy places that cost £800 a night. So lower your expectations. I'm not saying go and stay in a slum or a really dingy looking, you know, bad reviews kind of place, but while you're young, why not stay at a hostel? Hostels are great. You meet people, you get out of your comfort zone, but also you don't have to. If you really don't want to socialise, you don't have to. I've stayed in a hostel in Toronto where when I wanted, I went up to the terrace, I met some amazing people, I went out for pizza with one of the girls, and yeah, it was awkward. I am not very good at making conversation past the hi hello stage, and especially over dinner when you have to kind of be in that place. My god, it's kind of awkward sometimes, but honestly, go out there and see what kind of friends you can make, see what kind of people you meet. Over breakfast in the morning, you could be that person who sits and just eats by themselves, doesn't talk and walk out, that's fine, but if you want it, everyone's there by themselves most probably, and they want to talk, like they want to meet people. Hostels are amazing, like it's a great way to explore the place. But yeah, lower your expectations. You're probably not going to be staying in 5-star accommodation. It is cheaper to take someone with you sometimes to split the costs of food and hotel. So if you can bring a travel buddy, do it. If you can't, do not wait for someone to come with you, because chances are that sometimes someone will never want to come with you, and it's going to be there in the back of your mind and you're going to regret not going. What else have I written down here? If you go off season, for example, cruises, if you want to see a lot of places at once, cruises off season are dead cheap. For a cruise that you pay £2,000 for a week in summer can be about £400 for 2-3 weeks in winter, because it's off season, because that's not when everyone else has their holidays. So go off season if you can. Find those cheaper alternatives. When you're out there, when you're on your holiday, try and find cheaper places to eat. Buy your own food. If you've got a microwave at your hostel, if you're staying in an Airbnb, do your shopping and cook for yourself. Like, there's ways to make traveling when you're out there cheaper. So you got to realize that, if you book a lot of the stuff in advance, like activities that you want to do, you don't have to worry about your budget when you're there, including all these things. That's personally what I love to do, because this way, if I get paid this month, I know that I need to book the hostel, I need to book the flights, and then whatever I've got left over, I can book activities with. So then I've got one thing that I buy a month, like an activity, and then I have money that I save for my budgeting as well. So my daily, food and everything else that's not included in the hostel, if I am making any sense right now. There is a part where you do have to work hard for your money. I, during last summer, worked 2 jobs. I was out of the house for 14 hours a day. I was working 6 days a week. I had my Sundays off. That was my only day off. I was up from 7. I was back in bed at 1 in the morning. It was one after the other. I was working hard for my money, because I wanted to travel, because I had a lot of things that I needed to pay for. I went to Canada. Flights were £800, and accommodation wasn't cheap either. And then activities when you're there, especially when you're by yourself. Do find things that are for free. Do your research before you go. Again, this comes into there's museums that have a certain day off of the month where you can access for free. There's free activities, maybe there's a festival, something to occupy your time. So there's always something to do if you do your research right. Another one is make friends abroad. My dearest, bestest friend, she's like my sister, moved to Canada, which is why I was able to visit twice already, and I stayed with her. So that kind of lowers your price of accommodation. You just have to do their dishes and clean their house from time to time, and be a good guest, and basically find other ways to repay them if you can. You can also volunteer or work abroad. So I'll link some places down below that I found that I've not volunteered with yet. I obviously do your own research. Do not take everyone's word for, don't quote me. Whatever the saying is, I'm terrible with those as well. But basically do your own research. But some websites that I found down below I will link, where you can go and work on a farm, or be like a nanny or babysitter, and you stay with them. They provide you with accommodation and food, and you're basically in another country, so you've got that for free. Working as well, if you again find something that you like. So teaching abroad is massive. If you can get into any kind of internship or apprenticeship abroad for God knows how long. I know TEFL is really good. I'm currently doing a course with them just now on teaching English as a foreign language. I'll link that below as well. This summer I am volunteering with Angloville, which is kind of like a summer camp, and it's like an immersion experience for all the kids you're teaching. You're helping them with their English, so while you're with them, accommodation and food is completely free. You're just there, working for them, and your payment in return is being able to stay in this amazing place. And I've actually sponsored my TEFL, my qualification, which is amazing. So find opportunities like that, and it will allow you to travel, which is always good. But be very selective about a lot of things. Be selective about your hostels, where you're staying. Do your research about the area, about, you know, who, like, read reviews, the usual stuff. Same with your flights. Do a direct flight if you can. If you can do, you know, just be selective in everything that you do. If you can find cheaper activities, do that. If you can find a cheaper hostel, go for it. You know what your boundaries are, you know what you want. Lower your expectations a little bit, but do not do something where you're not going to enjoy yourself. But do make those sacrifices in order to be able to do the things you love. That is number one thing that you're going to have to do, is give up some of the things that you love spending your money on. And you might have to say no to your friends from time to time about going out somewhere, because at the end of the day, if you want to travel, as a student, I can't afford to go out every weekend. I can't afford to go out for meals all the time. I can't afford to buy the new fashion trends or go shopping all the time. I just can't afford it. So I know I'm missing out on some stuff, but I can make up for it in other ways. Don't, you know, take away all the luxuries from your life, but be selective about everything that you do, because travel is not expensive. Travel is expensive. And, you know, magazines like this, like, take ideas from them. Make yourself a little bucket list if you like, but do not take this as the Bible, as the only thing that you can do. If you like the look of a place, you know, either save up for exactly that experience or find ways to make it cheaper for yourself. So that's kind of what I do. These are my tips. I'm still learning. I'm only going to get better at this. But if this is your passion, if traveling is what you want to do, take this as a guideline. Look at other people's videos, look at how other people do it. So yeah, I hope this video helped in one way or another. I hope I can share some kind of knowledge with you. If you love to travel like me, I'm sure you will find something helpful in here if you don't know it already. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, and if you didn't, leave a thumbs down and a comment down below of what I can do better. If you have any questions, if you have anything to say, also comment down below. I do love to read the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on my social media. It is Night Owl Carol on Instagram. I post my travels on there, my photos, and I'd love to see you over there as well. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.